So if you want to know, that's how White Wizzard ended, basically. Just like them bailing for a record deal and leaving me for dead. And they were not fired. I want to summarize everything now really quick, kind of at the end of this, just to kind of, bring it all around and wrap this up on the first lineup. I don't hate anybody from the first lineup. LaRue, of course, has been back in the band at times, and we're cool. I don't have any hatred towards Tyler and Luna. I basically a long time ago got past that, but at the time I was upset, and it was a tough thing to go through. And I remember it really felt like a massive backstab, and in a way it was. I mean, like I said, in their defense, I could have handled some things better, and I know they had their issues with me, but I mean, I felt like that was kind of ridiculous and extreme, and I still think to this day it was a mistake. I think the first lineup should have stayed together, and we should have gotten the best record deal. We probably would have had a bidding war because Earache ended up interested shortly thereafter and signed me, which we'll get into later. We probably could have really optimized our situation and gotten a better record deal than either of us got separately if we just would have waited with the labels, and we would have fixed our problems, gotten a real manager, and maybe strategized better. I think we made a really big mistake, and I think that we all didn't get as far as we could have because of it. I would say on all fronts, everyone involved in the first lineup, whether it's what they ended up doing later or with what I did with White Wizzard later, I think we sold ourselves short. I think Luna, and I should have worked out our differences, and hopefully we could have gotten our work ethic to a point where we could have taken things to the next level. Unfortunately, it never happened that way, and it's really a bummer. But I will stand by everything I'm saying here. This is exactly how it happened, and I'll gladly go on any radio show unbiased with Luna and Tyler anytime and talk about this stuff. But I'm going to summarize. Basically, the bottom line is LaRue and I by far invested the most money in the band. We did the most work during the time of the band. Luna and Tyler did try to get this producer to let someone rewrite the material. I fought them on it and ultimately won that battle. Tyler wanted to remix stuff on, Pro Tools 001, basic equipment after Ralph Patlin had mixed the GTO EP. LaRue and I paid for that. I fought Tyler on it. I ended up posting the songs, which pissed him off, which ended up getting Davey Voorhees on board. All these things, that's exactly how it happened. It was ridiculous, but that's how it happened. And, there was all the other stuff I mentioned, and ultimately, as far as the songs go, again, from a creative standpoint, I'll go over them very to the point. Celestina, Megalodon, Octane, Gypsy, those 3 demos were done musically when I started the band with Luna and Tyler. They came over and heard them. That was the first stuff I played for them. I wrote all of March of the Skeletons except for the fast part with the lead on it, which came later, and LaRue composed that part. That came from another thing he was doing, and we put it in later. And LaRue and I worked out March of the Skeletons. Those 4 songs are the first 4 that we jammed, that we did with Tyler and Luna, and we started the band with. Then Red Desert Skies was written most of the music was by me, written in Guitar Center, as I said, when we got LaRue's amp. LaRue and I worked out that chorus, however. He was involved in the writing of that, in the pre-chorus, in the bridge and in the lead part. So LaRue and I pretty much composed that song. And then Into the Night is LaRue's music. That music came from a demo he had called Atomic Explosion that I loved, and I said we should turn that into a song. I came up with the bass line for it, but all of that, and then we worked out the chorus in the studio there on the spot. And then High Speed GTO, again, the song is about my car. I was the one that was sitting with Luna in his room. I came up with the idea. I wanted to do something like Little GTO and do a video Breaking the Law style. Him and I threw some lyrics back and forth. He completed that song that night, sent it to me in an email the next day. So he had a lot to do with the composition of the lyrics. However, the vocal melodies would come later with the producer and also at different times as we worked through it. The music had originally, in a different form, some of the riffs and everything were being jammed with their buddies from Trigger Renegade. There was a demo that I'd heard. That's what made us kind of trigger working on it, was I was like, we should work on that song. LaRue was a big star of the show on that song. I sat with LaRue while we sat down. LaRue had a lot to do with its arrangement. I would give LaRue most of the credit on the overall arrangement and dynamic of how that song turned out. The repeating hook, the lead at the end, the way that the riffs work against the bass line. He took that song to the next level from what it was. And so, the song's again about my car. High Speed GTO would not exist if it wasn't for all four of us coming together, and LaRue and I had a lot to do with its existence in spite of what sometimes Luna tries to tell people. Luna hasn't been, he always tries to say like that was his song, and it's just bullshit. I mean, the song's again about my car, so you can reasonably surmise I had something to do with it. Bottom line is we all made that song happen. It's very indicative of that lineup. We all brought our A game. We all made that song together. But the majority of the material I had written, or LaRue had written music for. So that's how the first EP was written. Lyrics and vocal melodies were pretty even. I think we all kind of had a main thing and a couple songs each. Vocal melodies were all worked out over time, though when we went in the studio, LaRue and I were really worried that Luna wasn't ready. A producer named Matt Hyde went in and helped him with the vocals at the end. So there was also some production that helped get those vocal melodies over the finish line. So it was a very Village created EP, even though I would say I was probably the majority of material and the visionary. Everybody really brought their A game, and it was a very collaborative process. White Wizzard since then has really not been much, aside from a couple songs on Over the Top. I've written pretty much ever since everything. But that was a special group of guys, and we had something, and it's too bad we didn't continue to evolve that chemistry in writing as well, because I think we would have again ascended to much greater heights. It's unfortunate we didn't. It is what it is. Finally, I trademarked the band name. No one wanted to throw in on that, and that was that. I know that I heard that Tyler was going around saying I had copyrighted songs. That was bullshit, complete lie. That can be proven even. Bottom line is I trademarked the band name. They knew that I was doing it for our protection. What it was I think they knew they did me dirty, and I think they just kind of wanted to come out of it not looking too bad. So it was kind of like, this kind of half-assed bullshit they were throwing out there. I don't think it was, done with, I don't think it was super, super malicious. But I think, they got enamored with the record deal and they jumped. And we had tension at the time. And like I said, I wasn't handling things the best. I could have been better. We needed a manager. So I don't blame them entirely, man. Like, it is what it is. Ultimately, they went on and formed their band, which Sorcerer turned into Holy Grail, obviously. And I continued with White Wizzard, and Earache ended up signing me, which we'll get into. And there's some stuff that comes up again later with this crap. But bottom line, that's kind of where it was. I was on my own. I was soldiering on. I started forming a new lineup. They all had a record label already involved with them, which I felt like, that made me kind of feel like it was, me against the world. And I soldiered on, and that's what the lyrics to Over the Top are all about. And we'll get into that in the next episode. So there you go. There's the fodder. There's the drama and all that shit, right? Say bye to the dog. Say bye, Pokey. We will get into Over the Top next, guys. And this will be an audiobook at some point, so bear with on that. Probably when I'm completely done, it'll all be done. So, all right, see ya.